Hey, Fred. We don't have a release for that guy that they just talked to. I'm going to need you to chase him down.
Copy you.
Cool.
Now I'm going to welcome you to the show. And who we have today is our DP, and it's Kako Oyarzun. Oyarzun. I've been practicing this all morning, and I've been trying to I keep getting it wrong. So apologies.
Great. No, please.
Welcome to the show, and
Thank you.
welcome to be one of our first guests coming on.
Thank you for
I
having
want
me.
to ask you right off the bat, as a crew member and stuff, what attracted you to entertainment? Just to start off.
Just the creativity and just the fact that anything could be made. Anything is possible, right? Like whether you're thinking of like these huge explosion movies or anything in between, Nat Geo being in the middle of some jungle waiting for some cat to come out, just like the whole spectrum of what is possible. And I guess the entertainment part of it for people to watch and ultimately what got me to where I ended up as a DP camera operator was the fact that what people are going to watch is what I'm experiencing and what I'm capturing in those moments.
As a kid, you were going through that. Is that what, as a child and stuff, is that what attracted you to it?
Definitely, I would say more on the documentary, unscripted side. That was something that definitely called out to me. And I was like, man, that would be amazing to be in like some jungle or in the ice caps or these like remote locations. And I guess the narrative side of it, movies and TVs, to me, in my world, it seemed kind of not far-fetched, but really out of my grasp and out of my reach. I didn't have anyone that I knew that worked in television. The closest was maybe advertising, and I think that's where I kind of started, and I was like, maybe advertising, and I want to be a creative and try to create commercials and campaigns and whatnot. So that's what I went to school for. And it wasn't until kind of my college years that I started meeting people that were interested in film and whatnot.
Nice.
So yeah, and then having the access, some friends having access to cameras, and then I started playing with cameras, and I felt like I always had some type of aesthetic of for art and framing and drawing, and that I do have in my family of just having like some type of artistry. So
without naming the name of the project, what was the premise of the like lowest budget thing that you ever were like, oh my god, I got stuck on this thing?
Oh my god, yeah, so I had come in contact and became friends with this group of Puerto Rican guys in Miami, and so they had gone to school with this other guy that was local to Miami, Alan, and he's Russian, and he was able to come up, get some money for this movie. And him and his dad wrote the script. We shot it in like mostly their house, their townhouse, and there might have been like one other location, but it was just like, and it's like 4 of us or 5 of us, and we did everything. There were times where I was the AD and I was like putting up lights and this and that, and there's also effects because Alan is really good at effects, and we did some type of stuff with like a helicopter coming, but there's no helicopter obviously, but that was like one of those, and it was funny because it was in Russian and also English and just kind of like, but it was cool. We had a great time. It was a bunch of friends trying to do some stuff, but
Nice. I got stuck on one out in San Francisco. I got called in to like produce it, and they flew me in, and I get out there and they're like, it's our first film and all this stuff, and they go and they show me and they go, hey, do you want to see the original? And I went, the what? And they go, the original. And I go, what are you talking about? And they go, oh, it was a porno before, but we're going to make it into a legit film now. And I'm like, so they're showing me this porno, what they're going to make into a legitimate film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I just signed up for the wrong. You're basically taking all the sex out of this and then pretending you're going to sell it. It's like, okay. I was like, I think I need to fly home now.
Formerly known as.
Yeah, it was like I think people watched it because it was a porn. I don't
Sure,
think people are gonna. I don't think people watched it when they're like, this should be an HBO show. What a drama this would make.
Yeah, whatever they were smoking, don't
It
smoke
was
that.
like, I was like, okay, but it was one of those like, you know, you sometimes you take those jobs where you're like, oh, I need, you know, it's a paycheck job. Sometimes you get those, right? And you get flown out. And again, not in a bad way, but just sometimes this is the content people want to show. And you're like, copy you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, whatever you need, you know. You said you went to school for advertising.
I did.
Did you get any camera work or anything out of that with the schooling for that? Or do you feel like that helped you in any aspect for television?
What I like to say is I learned how to advertise myself.
Which is important.
You know, yeah, it's very important.
Which is actually what you
and
think
still
about it.
I'm like, man, I got to do better. I got to learn more. But no, so in the School of Journalism, there was a telecommunications major, and that's where the 2 PBS stations were. So I started just kind of doing that, and it was like, probably date myself here, but they'd be like, hey, we need to get some B-roll to support this news. And so it was like the reel to reel, and then I'd put little like B-roll packages together, and little by little, but that was more, and I was like, man, I wanna like, this is cool, but I want to kind of expand my horizon and see what else is out there, because I don't really want to be in the news cycle type of stuff. So a friend of mine, in talking to him, he's like, hey man, I just worked the football game, right? University of Florida, 96,000 people. I was like, what? I love sports and football and all that stuff, right? So I'm like, man, that's awesome. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just a utility. I had no idea what a utility was. He's like, oh, I'm just setting up the cameras the day before the game, and then if they need me, I just help out cable wrangling behind the camera operators. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. If there's ever an opportunity, like, hit me up. So sure enough, he hits me up, and they puts me in contact with this person, and they're like, hey, Kako, hey, I got your name from so-and-so. We need a utility for Saturday's game. It's $50 for the game, and you know, you'd be a utility, blah, 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 run coax or triax, and then that's it. And at the time, through school, I would wait tables at a restaurant, right? A lot of us do.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so Saturday is a big money day, you know, like, especially, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like, F it, I'm gonna take this other job, and so I started that way.
Nice.
And so I was like, man, going into it, I was like, man, my first job, $50, what? And I'm gonna be right there on the field. I didn't know exactly where my position was. So then I get there Saturday. That first day, they didn't have me set up on Friday. So they come up and they're like, hey, this is your camera operator, Michael. I think that's what his name was. And so he's like, all right, cool. So this is what we do. I run out to, didn't seem like he was kind of how I would imagine him to be, a camera operator that everyone's kind of like fit and whatever. And so he's like, look, what I do is I go out to the middle of the field, I shoot the team coming out, and then we gotta like run back to the end zone. And we were like right on the end zone. It was awesome. I was like, man, I won the lotto right here. So he's like, do you know how to over-under? I was like, yeah. I had no idea what over-under. He's like, yeah, over-under, right? Like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, no worries. I know over-under. Oh, whatever. In my sleep, I over-under. So he's like, we got to come quick off the field because the game starts right away. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, I don't think this guy runs very fast. I can't. So sure enough, in the middle of the field, 96,000 people screaming. The team comes out. I'm like, wow. And before I know it, he's like taking off. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I started over-undering like 3 or 4 loops. and then all goes to hell, right? So he had told me, he's like, if that happens, you lose track of it, just run with me and then just pull it back, and then you'll just clean it up afterward. I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. So we take off, boom, and in there I'm like, nope, it's not gonna happen. So I'm just running back. I get back. He's like, oh, good job, good job. And I turn back and I just go like this, and I pull back the cable. And I'm like, all right, cool, cable's off the field. Game's about to start. And I turn over and there's this pile, like 4 feet high, and so I just took my time. Just kind of learning how to over under. But so I started in that way, and so got me a little bit into like the sports. I did some basketball games there as well, and then and so that was kind of my basic experience there. And it wasn't until I moved and I graduated and I moved back to Miami, where I grew up, that I started PAing.
So what got you into Los Angeles, and what brought you here, and then reality TV?
Yeah. So there was a company that had been doing a lot of home renovation shows in Miami. Right. And I had paired up with that same, all those guys that I worked on that Russian movie on. Oh, yeah. And so we started all working together and doing all that. And then that kind of funneled me into kind of reality, unscripted, but the thing is that in Miami, in smaller markets, in comparison to LA, right? Like in LA, you work movies, you pretty much do movies. Commercial, right? Like everyone's kind of into their own world. But smaller markets, you gotta hustle, you gotta do whatever. And it just happened to be that I came into this world of a lot of these home renovation shows and whatnot, super popular early in the odds, right? That and so that kind of led me. Initially, I wanted to move to New York, and I had a job that went to New York, LA, and back here. It was cold as hell in New York. Thanksgiving, came out to LA and it was beautiful, and I was like, man, I can't move that. And, the most interesting thing is that at the time, I had been so concentrated on working with or moving to New York that just my world I had a lot of people that I was working with that were from New York, like New York-based companies, New York, and I was doing that. And then when I decided to move to LA, there was like this change just naturally. And so I started working a little bit more and more with people from LA and companies that were coming from LA into Miami. Oh. And so I developed this relationship working on this show called Beach Patrol, right? Which was awesome. I grew up on the beach. Everything was the cure-all for everything in my family's ideology was the beach. So for me, that's like my second home. And so I did a season in Miami. I came out to San Diego, worked with them. The following year, we worked together a second season in Miami, and then that's when I moved out here.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was interesting how just very in a very like easy, flowy way things happened.
Nice.
And so, because I had been working in the unscripted world for so long, it just was natural that I just kept working more and more in that, even though I definitely want to be a little bit in both worlds, like the narrative space and the unscripted space, documentaries, all that kind of stuff, which nice. For me it keeps it light, and I'm not just like, okay, we just got to do one or the other. So
of all the projects and stuff you've done, what's the most fun?
Man, I would think that one of the funnest projects that I worked on was the first show that I DP'd, which was called In Harm's Way, and that's when all these like super dangerous jobs and all this other stuff. So it was they had I think it was like 4 crews, and they spread them literally all over the world.
But what was the premise of the show?
It was taking people's professions that are dangerous and being like, oh, these people are in harm's way.
Ah, okay.
So we went my crew went very tame, the first one, which was bull riders, right?
Yeah.
PBR, it was cool. We were like there interviewing them, getting some stuff, you know, spent a couple of weeks with them. And then from there, they ramped it up a little bit, and we went, where did we go? We went to Cambodia to do land mine clearing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, landmine clearing. All right, cool.
Yeah.
This is cool. And little did I know that back when the Khmer Rouge were around, there's this section of the Thai-Cambodia border where the Khmer Rouge, and this is really funny, which I also learned, is that when governments put landmines, everyone tries to adhere to this like pattern, right? So then when it's time to clear them, people could be like, oh, they placed them in this pattern, and so people don't get maimed or killed or whatever. Well, the Khmer Rouge were a bunch of not so nice people, and they were just like throwing them around like nothing. So this was like a super hot spot right there, right? And so we went out there, and so we had a little team that kind of followed around these people that were just like in the field, just kind of like with a mine, like a detector, like a metal detector, trying to see, and then we had another crew that we would follow around, and they'd be like, hey, we found something over here in this field. And so they'd have like these ordinances, and one time there was this big, bomb or something that they're like, yeah, we were just farming, and it was like right there. And so we were like, oh shit. So another time they're like, oh yeah, it's right here. So imagine like this clipboard, just how it's hung up. It was this landmine, which is kind of like a hockey puck size, and just like in a plastic like grocery store bag, just hanging. So I was there, and then the person's like, oh yeah, it's right there, and it's on my left side. So I pan over, and it's like from me to you, and I was like, oh shit. So and I was like, I started just walking out, and then from there we ended up in we came back, and then we went to. We ended up in Chile, but we flew first into Buenos Aires, then Bariloche, and then we took this 8-hour drive through the Andes into this town called Chaitén, and that's where this volcano had exploded like 6 months earlier or something.
Wow.
Closed off, and they got this guide that he knew, but he didn't really know. Like they might as well have hired us, been like, oh yeah, let's go up this way. And I put a F900 in a backpack, and we climbed this volcano for like 5 hours, and it was just all this soot and ash, and we filmed along the way, and we got to the top of the volcano, and we were like, all right, and this is the volcano with a volcanologist. And then we. But that was super fun, you know. I mean, those are like the moments that you're like, man,
that's the best part.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then everything else with the travel and all that.
What's the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you on set?
Oh man. So actually, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about this, and he was the AD on this show. So my first full-time gig as a camera operator was it was a Swedish and English soap opera filmed in Miami. So it was like Megan Fox was on it when she was like a teenager.
Damn.
Rebecca Ferguson was on it. Like she was super young. She must have been like, I don't know, 18, 19, something like that.
Wow.
And so when it was Swedish actors, we'd shoot it both in English and in Swedish. Okay. And then it was any type of American actor only in English. So I get on this shoot, super green. I'm super green. I can't. So I finally get on this, and I had been day playing for a while, and my friend, who was ADing, he's like, yo, we need to bring in Kako. Let's bring in Kako. Let's, because I think they were having issues with that camera operator. And so I'm like, all right, cool, man. I'm there. I'm feeling like I made it. I could have been on, like, I don't know, a Scorsese feature for all I knew in my head. And so it's a 3-camera studio setup. And I'm like, all right, cool. And it's just these 2 people. They come into this office. They sit down. Boom, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. And I put my eye in the viewfinder. And I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. And I don't know how. All of a sudden, I come to, and no one's in the studio. And I'm like, what the fuck, it just happened? And I'm like looking around, still don't see anyone. And the producer comes in and she's like, did you just fall asleep on the camera? And I'm like, maybe. You know how like those times where you just like fall asleep? Like,
No, I run a nap. I've never fallen asleep right on set.
like
That's
that.
fantastic.
I'm telling you, first thing in the morning, I'm like caffeinated. I'm ready to go. Then like this at the eye in the viewfinder. And I come up and I'm like, it was like this like momentary lapse of like time continuum. It was
Just set.
yeah. I'm like, damn, everyone just saw me just there, passed out. They walked out.
What do you do to kill
But-
time on sets like that?
Man, over the last several years, I started, speaking of 175 million degrees, making Cuban coffee for the crew during lunch.
What, you're making the coffee?
Yeah. So
They have that bad at coffee on your sets? They're making
Well,
you do all the coffee,
look,
or you just enjoy doing it?
I just enjoy doing it. It started out as
What kind of coffee?
Bustelo. Yeah.
So you make you just make it on set?
I make it on set. Well, I just find an AC outlet.
You have what?
I got a kit. Yeah.
You got your kit?
Yeah, you want to see it?
You got your kit?
I got my kit.
Yeah, I want to see
All
it.
right.
You bring your coffee kit to.
Dude.
Wait, how bad? Bring it up. Just put it
Look.
right on the table. Go for it. What?
All right, so let me turn this over here.
Yeah, go for it.
See it, and yeah. So
You gonna make? Can you make me a coffee?
yeah, I'll make you a coffee, of course.
All right, let's just stand up. We're gonna go away from the mics for a little bit, but actually, you put it together.
Here,
and I'll get you a
yeah.
cord over there.
Yeah, here. I see something over here, and
And I'm gonna kind of describe it as you're doing it.
yeah.
Does this work right here like
Yeah,
that?
that's perfect. Yeah.
All right. So you got a little like coffee machine that
Yeah.
you put on like a plug thing. Oh,
Yeah.
it's like, and you got a little espresso. What do you need? A spoon or?
I just need some hot water.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Boom.
Hey, wait. So on set, somebody's like, "Hey, I'm having a bad day right now. I'm having a bad thing." You got a little downtime. This is set up over into the corner. You got your water set up into your little
Yep.
container. You throw in what kind of okay? Oh,
This is
little Kako.
Bustelo. Yeah.
Ooh.
So the whole thing was I was working.
These are your coffee things? Oh, like
Yeah.
that's your stuff. You got a little. Oh shit.
Yeah, and I'm actually I have a mobile coffee cart business specializing
out!
in Cuban coffee. So yeah, yeah, and we'll start it off. It's gonna be really quick. So yeah, so I learned this through another crew member, Michael Landrian. Props to him for teaching me this. We were on set.
This is fantastic.
And so you do this. This is a 6-cup, so this is a big guy, right? Then we got this, and this is how they make it at the little windows in Miami. If you've
Oh,
ever
so
been
when
to-
you're down in Miami and the Keys and they're making a okay, so this
Right.
is what I'm looking. Okay,
So-
I never knew how they made it. I
Yeah.
got it all the time.
So 1, 2, 3,
Damn, that's sugar.
4.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get. This is exactly how you get a body like this from that much sugar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
This is years
Well-
of being a producer
well-
eating donuts.
Well, thankfully, I only serve them in these 3/4.
Oh,
cups.
sweet. Yeah.
which I'm sure you've seen.
Oh,
Right?
for sure. Oh.
So we wait for a little bit of this coffee to brew,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna pour it in here, and then I'll show you. But in the
Is it
meantime,
on?
yeah, it's on.
Nice.
So it's heating up.
Okay, so so you started doing this on set.
Yeah.
And then what happened? You just
Well-
decided to, like, this is doing well. I should start opening it?
Well, a lot of people had told me, and initially we were on. So I was on this show with Michael Landry.
If this show goes through the roof and you become like Starbucks,
Listen,
I can get a piece of this.
No.
Bad producer. Producer.
I'm gonna get you points. Don't worry about it.
That's what I want, points. I want a little thing. I love it.
1 point.
Yeah, exactly.
2 point.
10.
But
You get
yeah,
10
so-
and you get one free.
Yeah.
I love it.
So he was making it, and then I was like, yo, he's also from Miami, and I was like, yo, what's up with this? He's like, yeah, I'm making. He's also.
Do you
Cuban.
need anything out of this right now?
No.
Let's put this down on
Yeah.
the ground right now and then have this
Yeah.
just kind of going so that we can kind of keep
Yeah.
for when this is ready and then we can kind of
Yeah.
go, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to
So-
get all
so-
jacked up.
Yeah, so he taught me. He's like, yeah, man, this is how I make. But he had a hot plate, so that was early on in the year. And then in the summertime, I was working on Extreme Makeover Home Edition, the reboot
Okay.
on HGTV. And man, we were in the Central Valley, and it was 107 degrees for like 3 days straight. And we had this huge footprint of everything. So the only reprieve from, because obviously we're shooting outside,
Yeah.
was the camera truck, an old school camera truck that had a film room in it for changing film, and it had an
Black
AC.
box.
Yeah, and it had AC, so we would take turns. It was probably like the size of this table, and the whole camera team, we would take turns, kind of like hanging out there for a couple minutes. And one day, I'm like, man, I'm really dragging ass. I'd love a coffee, but I'm not gonna walk 2 blocks. It was literally 2 blocks to the catering to go grab a coffee in 107 degrees. And I remember my good buddy, he had told me about this coffee maker, and I was like, of course, everyone or most people, Amazon.
Right.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. 2 days later, I get the whole kit, and I started making it, and people were like, Kako, what are you doing? I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna make Cuban coffee. And so I would serve them this little portion, and they'd be like,
That's
what the hell is
fantastic.
this? This is nothing. I'm like, listen, in 5 minutes, let's talk,
Let's talk.
right? So I started hitting up everyone on the camera department, and they're like, oh man, this is good. And then little by little, people were seeing the little cups and being like, Kako, what is that? Bam, bam, bam. And so I started, I mean, the crew is huge on that show. So
Walk me through now that it's brewed.
it's brewed.
Okay, now it's brewed. Now what? That's the sugar. So
This
what
is
have we
the
done with
sugar.
the sugar?
Well, I've poured a little bit of, like 3 spoonfuls of, like a tablespoon
Okay.
of sugar in here, of coffee into the sugar. And I've stirred it up. And then you get a little peanut
Oh, look at
butter
that.
looking creaminess, which makes the crema. And then we come over here, and then we just pour it in there. Good to go. Put this over here on the side. Stir up the sugar in there.
Oh, I'm a coffee freak.
Yeah.
I love coffee on set. When there's good coffee on set, oh,
Here we go.
yeah, I want a little bit of that.
So now whenever I show up, people are always, the first thing they ask me is, did you bring the coffee?
So do you just wolf it? You just shoot it back, or do you just sip on it?
I sip on it because it's, cheers, my friend.
Cheers! Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for making the
Yeah.
coffee.
Of course.
Oh, that is strong and it's sweet. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's like coffee and candy had a kid.
Yeah. I call it the anti-itis. You know how like after lunch you get the itis? You're like, this is like the perfect pick-me-up after lunch.
This is so good.
Thank you.
How many of these can I have without like completely being up for 5 days?
Man, I've heard of people going to the little windows and they'll serve you maybe like 6 ounces and a bunch of cups on top of it because it's meant to be shared. not drink the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. And they
But
just
and people say and have told me that they just turn pale, cold sweats. I would never do that. But
wow.
the cafecito is life.
What's the great Christmas light fight?
Oh, dude,
What is that? That I saw that on your resume and I was like, how did I never see that show? And how am I not on that? Like that just sounds like the most fun show in the world.
It really is,
What
and
is
it's really interesting because I was just talking to someone this past weekend about it, and they're like, "Man, that's like one of those shows that just has like multiple seasons on seasons on seasons, and no one really knows about it. And it's under the radar. It's ABC,
And it's just people putting up Christmas lights and
putting up
challenges.
Yeah, and it's changed over the years. So that was like I think the longest running show I did. I think I did like 8 or 9 seasons of it, and it was great.
That's a great one.
And the awesome part about it is that it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all up inspiring. It's all like showcasing these families that have this love for Christmas and just the Christmas spirit, right? Like whatever people might think of like commercialism or blah, 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 like yeah, okay, cool. We can talk about that another day.
Yeah.
But like the Christmas spirit of just
All
putting
of
something
that,
out
yeah,
good.
all of that time, all
Yeah.
of that holiday, and everybody all doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I love that stuff.
It's great.
So it's a good show like
yeah,
that.
it's awesome. And-
There's not a lot of shows that we get like that at times, but I feel, and again, I could be wrong. I could be romanticizing stuff, but I feel like we are getting back to that in our in television stuff. I feel like like the stuff that even gets produced now or the stuff they're doing, there's a little bit of like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little bit more. That's fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. I like that side.
Yeah, me
of
too.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always for me because it was on the back end of the year, right at the end. It was like a perfect way to finish my year because it's just like all good family. Like if there was always this magical moment of how the lights turn on, right? And between the producer and the homeowner, they'd come up with a concept and we do it. And sometimes it was as simple as like, oh, let's just put two extension cords together and boom, and if like things happen.
Yeah.
Even in our world, right? You get gremlins and air gaps and all kinds of things. But if it didn't happen on the first one, be like, cool, don't worry about it. It's all gonna work out perfect.
Yeah.
And it was all good and it was great and even the crew that's on these shows, like if you don't fit into that
That's
That's
key.
Then it's cool.
Thank
you for coming out. But yeah,
I just finished one last year, same sort of thing. Like me and the crew, like the talent and everybody that was on it, they were so awesome that it was like, you know what I mean? Like even if there was drama, nobody listened to it, nobody dealt with it. Like the crew itself were like, we're immune. Like this is awesome. Yeah. And when you get that, I always feel that's the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
especially
and there's two things to that. One is like part of making those experiences, at least on the Great Christmas Light Fight, memorable, because we want to make it memorable for the family, right?
Yeah.
And it's I have found that it's really important for me as a camera operator and DP on that show to be able to kind of be able to have good bedside manners, right, per se, where you gotta make people feel comfortable. You gotta make people like know that we're there to highlight them and to make them feel good, right?
Yeah.
And to only make sure that they only look good and that we're there, right? And comfortable, because it's I could imagine that it's pretty daunting on a family in the middle of Missouri, or anywhere in the country, for all of a sudden this crew, even though it's a small crew, it's only like maybe 6 or 7 of us, come in and be like, yeah, and then we just take over, and they're like, oh yeah, just let's move this table, and then we'll put a light here, and then come here, and then walk out the door, and blah 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 blah. For them it's like, and I've seen it a lot, but in being able to talk to them, being able to form some type of rapport in a very short period of time and make them feel comfortable, then they're like, oh, these guys are my friends, and they're not like these Hollywood types, right, that maybe people.
And it's very important, especially with your position, because you're the one holding that equipment that is showing them to the world. So it's even more important a lot
Sure.
of times for
Yeah.
you to make sure that you have that rapport from a crew point of
Yeah.
view, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's super important. And then the other thing is, as well, you and I been around for a little bit, and we show it in our grays.
I'm not gray.
yeah.
Am I gray? I haven't
No,
seen
no,
any of the
no,
cameras
no,
yet.
no,
Am
no.
I showing any gray?
No, not at all. I'm just talking about me, and thankfully that's why. But no, but you know, but in that, right, with our experience, we just, or at least I'd like to think that I've taken a little bit more of a perspective of being like, man, look at what we're doing, right? Like ultimately, whether you're in the jungle or in Morocco or like, you know, I went to the Maldives and so many other places that we've been to, or even in LA, and different experiences that we have on set, right? Like ultimately, we're making TV, right?
Right.
And it's like I've said for a while, it's just like you in your position, you have these like crazy conversations about being like, wait, so should we bring the pink elephant through that door or that door? What's going to be better for the shot? You know, and it's just so surreal, and we kind of tend to take it seriously, which is great because we're all trying to be professional and all that. But ultimately, it's just like, I think sometimes just take a step back and be like, man, this is pretty cool what we do, and the experiences, and also kind of like the VIP access of it all, right?
Yeah, the stuff you get to see.
Yeah.
I remember there
so-
was, again, as you were saying, like, you know, it's the weird conversations that come up. And one of the, and I don't even know why we were melting down over it, but like, you know, and again, you know, we were laughing within like 4 minutes of it, but we were in the most intense conversation about me on him going, what time do you want the effing donkey to be on set? And you're like sitting in a Mexican desert,
Yeah.
like, why is, like, we're literally almost about to come to fists on this right now. And we're like, we stop and again, just take a breath, and we're like, we're literally talking about a donkey right now. You understand that? You just take a breath and you both start laughing. You're like, wow, we were taking life seriously there for a minute. But like you do get caught up sometimes with those parts of the conversations when you're out there. So it's little things like that, like I've learned over the years to find that patience in just bringing it down. You know, we always have that mentality on the crew. Best answer right now is the way to go, as opposed to the right answer a day from now. Like, just get it done. Get it done. But sometimes you just got to go, all right, just take a breath.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's have a coffee.
Yeah, let's have a coffee.
Let's have a coffee and talk
about it. Yeah, because there's always like I feel that there's kind of the like, for lack of a better term, like the Hollywood, right? Like the multi-million-dollar shot that maybe the producer might be thinking of like getting, and you're like, okay, cool, I understand what you want, but right now I got 3 nickels and $1 in my pocket, and this is probably the best way, you know. And so I think that's another great thing is that I really love what we do is the team aspect of it, right? Like,
for sure.
Like I can't do my job just by myself, right? I need you, I need audio, I need whoever the support system, everything. So and ultimately,
if I did my job by myself, you wouldn't even have anything to edit. You know what I mean? You just have a bunch of people having dinner. Is all you have. Right? So.
Just turn in your receipts.
Yeah, you're just like, come on, hang out for 12 hours, and I'll have dinner every 6 hours. That's it. Like, we would have nothing if I didn't have other people. What is, besides your job, what would be the one job on a set that you went, all right, I would have wanted that job? What's that job?
Oh, what other job?
Or is there one?
Yeah.
Which is, there might not be one.
Yeah. You know, the directing aspect interests me, and there's also its own play in that. It's not just like, I want to direct this and let's do this, right? There's the backside of it.
The amount of work you have to prep as a director before
and,
walking to set. Nobody sees that. You know, I don't even think I realized it the first couple of shoots. Like, even as a crew member, you really have to be around that director to realize,
absolutely.
like, wow, they work.
At least on a lot of the shows I work on, I feel that aside from them doing their job, they are a filter from the back row. The EPs and what they want and what they're trying to accomplish, to the director being able to disseminate the information properly to the crew. And the ones who do it, as you know, are amazing. Right?
That's a very difficult, like, whether they are the director or the executive producer, whatever the title is for that particular project, that walking the line of making not only the crew and everybody happy on the shoot, but all of the different elements that are required for the deliverables, it really is it is a Herculean task that a lot of people just don't understand the pressure that they're under. And again, as a crew member, you gotta sometimes go, okay, you know, you gotta understand that they're going through a lot more than we are in one day. So that's part of the fun too. When you were saying, when you get a good crew.
Together. And ultimately, I think you know, in thinking about your question, I love what I do.
Yeah,
I really do. You know, and I probably about 10 years ago, I just kind of going through some things and, you know, just reassessing my career, myself, and all that. And so I was like, man, you know what? I really, I hadn't thought of it really and really vocalized it and decided to go in that way. And not that I hadn't decided to go in that way, but it was something like, man, what I do, it's a special craft, right? And so I want to be able to, every day, and even you know, if tomorrow I have a shoot, that's my mentality. Like, how am I gonna get better? Even when I'm on long running shoots, I wake up every day being like, okay, cool. Yesterday I kind of did this and I can improve that. And how am I gonna, like, even if it's incremental, I always wanna improve myself little by little. And how can I get myself to become so well crafted in my craft, right? And it's and I think about it in when I go see a live performance of a band, right? Like, you just see these amazing musicians that they're similar to us, right? And they're all playing their instruments, and I can concentrate on, let's say, the bass player, and the bass player is jamming out and killing it and doing that, and they've honed in on their craft, right? Look over the guitar player's killing it, blah, 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 da, 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 like everything, right? And so those are things that that I realized that it's something really important for me to just, like, be the best that I can be and kind of zone in and try to have that flow state when I'm working.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not always perfect.
No.
Right?
No.
Like, we always have our days off or whatever, but
yeah. And again, like anything else, it's like, you know, we have the best plans and intention right up until call time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's like that Mike Tyson line. Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like the second call time hits, bam! You're like, okay, who didn't show up?
Yeah.
Here we go.
And that's also really another fun part of our job, right? Like, yeah, okay, cool. And at 9:52, we're gonna first shot and blah blah blah, 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 blah. But then you gotta adjust, and in those adjustment periods, it's just like life, right? Like, you never know, but it's how we react to those moments that ultimately we get the best result.
Worst position ever invented on set?
Oh, man, the lockdown PA. Poor people. Fuck. Just be like, but you're 3 blocks away.
Hold, please.
Hold, please.
That's awesome. Hardest part of your job? Or to describe your job, the hardest part of it? Concentration?
Yeah.
Patience?
I mean, yeah. Just concentration, and there's just
Not sleeping.
You know, the thing is that I explain it to a lot of people that aren't in the industry. It's just like, as a camera operator and in the unscripted world, man, there's so much stuff going on at once, right? You got this 35-pound camera on your shoulder.
But
You're viewing right here with one eye. The other eye, which I call the chameleon eye, trying to see what else is going on. So if you have movement, you got to make sure someone's coming in. You're listening to, or I listen to story on my right ear. Director, producer, whatever on the other side. Focus, iris, zoom on one hand. And then geographic location of where, okay, I got to move left, and then is there steps? What am I going to run into? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So there's all this other stuff. And then forethought of being like, oh, so Johnny's going to go up the stairs and see Sarah. And blah. I mean, this sounds like a dating show, but, but you know, or whatever. So I could be able to anticipate that anticipation.
that's
the
it.
word.
That's the word. Best tool in your kit.
My brain.
I love that one.
I don't know.
I love
Yeah.
that one. Favorite camera to shoot on?
The Alexa Mini right now.
Would you prefer to shoot on film or video?
Oh man, it's been like a couple of years since I shot film. No, it's been a while. Film is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
It has its own method, its own way of finding the shot. Well, you can't find the shot; you just set it up, and which is the nice thing of the narrative side of things.
Yeah.
But you know, digital gives us
So much more play.
so much more play, yeah. And just we can get a lot more creative, and it's a lot more precise with film. It's great, but
Scale of 1 to 10. How good are you on set?
me, like at 35. No, I try. You know,
You aim for 10.
yeah, I aim for 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always want to be the best version of myself.
That's awesome.
man, you know,
Yeah.
I want to be. I always try to aspire to try to be a ninja.
That's what
Right.
that's what we are.
Nice and quiet.
That's
And
what the crew
my-
should be, though. Like
Yeah.
we're always doing that. But that's
Yeah.
you want everybody on the crew to be that. Also comfortable with themselves. You want people to be like, yeah, I'm we're the greatest
Yeah.
at this.
Yeah,
you
and-
know that brings that to
Yeah.
the table as well. I love
And,
that.
and I think as I've gotten older, and so have my colleagues that we've kind of come up together. That's another thing that like we're not fighting over shots, or we're not like everyone's super respectful, everyone's super chill, and
Yeah.
and when we're not in the middle of it, we're really cordial, have a good time.
It's the key.
But then when it's go time, man, it's go time.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
messing around.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all pros there. So,
Akko, I'm actually going to bring you on to set just so I can keep drinking coffee and doing
dude,
this.
let's do it.
Thank you
Let's do it.
so much for
Thank you,
coming
man.
today, man. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it. Kako, this was so much
Yeah.
fun. I'm glad you came by.
Let's do it again.
I'm looking forward to not only doing this again, but I'm looking forward to working with